If you're watching this, your marriage likely just got hit by an affair. Maybe it just happened. Maybe it's been weeks and you still can't sleep, still can't stop the questions, still can't figure out how to be in the same room with your spouse without everything feeling impossible. And somewhere underneath all of it, you're wondering the same thing every couple in your situation wonders. Is there any possible way back from this? I want to talk to you about that, not with a formula and not with false hope, but with an honest answer I've given to hundreds of couples over the last 15 years. Hi, my name is Hans Molegraaf, and I'm the founder of Marriage Revolution. And if you'll give me just the next 20 minutes, I want to show you something that might change the trajectory of your marriage, your family, and even your legacy. But before I tell you anything about what I do or how I can help, I want to make sure you know that I understand where you are right now. If you're the one who was betrayed, here's what I know about you. You found out and your world stopped. Everything you thought was true, your marriage, your spouse, even your own ability to read the person closest to you suddenly felt like a lie. But your pain isn't just emotional. You can't sleep. You can't stop the images. There are moments of rage so intense they scare you, and then moments of grief so deep you can barely breathe. You're not going crazy. What you're experiencing has a name, and it's called betrayal trauma. It's real, it's serious, and it deserves to be treated with the same urgency as any other trauma. If you're the one who had the affair, here's what I know about you. You never thought you'd be here. This is not who you are, but it happened. And now you're watching your spouse fall apart, knowing that you caused it. The regret is crushing. You would give anything to go back. And you're terrified of losing not just your marriage, but everything that came with it. Your family, your reputation, even a sense of who you are. I want to say something that nobody else may be saying to you right now. You are not defined by your worst day. What you did was a profound betrayal, and it's not the final chapter of your story or your marriage's story. I know the regret you're carrying right now feels crushing, but feeling sorry is a starting point, not a destination. What comes next requires a guide, a framework, and the belief that what's broken can be made new. And I believe that. And I believe God brought you to this moment because He's not finished with you or your marriage. Regardless of which side you're on, underneath everything, you're both probably feeling the same thing. You're scared. Scared that the dreams you had for your marriage, your children, your future together are all on the edge of being gone. That fear means you still care, and couples who still care have a fighting chance. Now, I want to say something that might be the most important thing you hear in this entire video. The crisis that feels like it's ending your marriage can actually become the catalyst for the best marriage you've ever had. And I believe that with everything in me, that God longs for your marriage to be rebuilt. Not just repaired, but rebuilt into something neither of you can fully imagine from where you're standing right now. Not only have I watched this happen hundreds of times over the past 15 years, but I've experienced it in my own marriage. 30 years ago, I discovered that my wife Star was having an affair. I'll never forget that moment. The world I thought I knew collapsed in an instant. I went through every emotion you're feeling right now. The rage, the grief, the paralyzing questions, the sleepless nights wondering if there was any way forward. But here's what most people don't know about my story. 2 years after we began rebuilding our marriage, I sat down with Star and confessed my own struggle with pornography. In that moment, I was no longer just the betrayed husband. I became the one sitting across from my spouse, watching her absorb something I wished I could take back. I know what it is to be betrayed, and I know what it is to be the one who caused the pain. Star and I have walked through both. We've worked through all of it. And that's what I bring into every session. Not theory, not just training, the lived experience of both chairs. That's not something most counselors can say. Most programs are led by clinicians who studied affair recovery or by one spouse who survived it. I understand this from the inside of both of your experiences, and I believe that's why couples who work with me heal at a depth that surprises even them. Star and I didn't just survive. We built a marriage with a depth of trust and intimacy we didn't have before the affair. We've been married for over 32 years now. We have 6 children, and our marriage is the strongest it's ever been. God does not waste pain. He redeems it. And the same crisis that feels like it's destroying your marriage can become the catalyst for the deepest, most intimate marriage you've ever had. I know that sounds impossible right now, and that's okay. You don't have to feel it yet. But I do want you to stay open to the possibility that God can rebuild your marriage. Before I show you the framework we use, I want to walk you through 3 shifts that every couple has to take before real healing becomes possible. Not tactics, not steps, but shifts in how you see what you're actually dealing with. The first shift is this: stop trying to get your old marriage back. I know that sounds counterintuitive. Getting your marriage back is probably exactly what you want. But here's what I've learned from walking with hundreds of couples. The goal of restoring what you had is the very thing keeping most couples stuck. What I want to offer you instead is something I call Marriage 2.0. Not a patched version of what you had, not a return to normal, but a fundamentally different marriage. One built on a level of honesty, intentionality, and depth that most couples never reach because they never had to. A marriage where both of you actually know each other more fully than you did before, where truth isn't assumed but built, where the hard conversations are no longer avoided but actually become the thing that holds you together. If you're trying to get back to what you had, you'll measure every week against an impossible standard. Every hard conversation will feel like failure. Every moment that doesn't feel normal will feel like evidence that it's not working. But if you understand you're not restoring something, you're building something, every hard conversation becomes a brick. Every moment of honesty becomes a part of a foundation that's stronger than what you had before. Marriage 2.0 is not a consolation prize. For couples who commit to this process, it's something better than what they started with. That's not just wishful thinking. That's what I've watched happen over and over for 15 years. And it's exactly what's possible for those who bring their brokenness to God. The second shift you need to make is this: the healing process will feel like a roller coaster, and that's not a sign it's not working. Most couples come into this process expecting a steady climb, a rough week followed by a better one, and month by month, a little more normal, a little more trust, and a little more like themselves. And when that doesn't happen, they panic. A trigger hits 6 months in, and the betrayed spouse is back on the floor. A conversation goes sideways, and it feels like they are right back at day one. And both of them start to wonder, is this even working? Are we just fooling ourselves? Here's what I want you to know. That's not failure. That's exactly what healing from trauma looks like. Recovery from betrayal is not a straight line. It's a spiral. You'll revisit the same pain more than once. You'll have breakthroughs followed by setbacks. You will think you've turned a corner, and then something, a song, a location, even a date on the calendar will knock you sideways. The couples who make it are not the ones who never get knocked down. They're the ones who stop interpreting the setbacks as evidence that they're failing, and they start seeing them as a part of the process. The third shift you need to make is this: stop trying to figure this out on your own. Most couples facing an affair try to navigate it on their own first. They read the books, they give it time, they have the hard conversations without any real framework, and they stay stuck. Not because they didn't try hard enough, but because this is not something you can find your way through without a guide. According to a 2019 survey by health testing centers, only 15.6% of couples survive an affair without professional help. Not because the other 84% didn't care enough, but because trying to navigate this without a guide is like trying to find your way out of the woods without a map. Affair recovery is not a marriage problem that requires marriage advice. It's a trauma event that requires a structured, proven path through the trauma. And walking that path with someone who's been on both sides of it is different from walking it with someone who only studied it from the outside. Look, God is able to do this. He has done it for hundreds of couples I've walked with. He's done it in my own marriage. And what you need is not more willpower or time. What you need is someone who has been where you are and knows the way through. I want to paint two pictures for you, not to frighten you, but because I've watched both of them play out hundreds of times, and I think you deserve to see them clearly. The first picture is what I see when couples wait. They tell themselves they need more time. They try a little harder on their own. They schedule a call and then cancel it. And month by month, the patterns that are forming right now get more deeply embedded. The distance becomes familiar. The resentment becomes a part of the furniture in the room. The conversations that need to happen keep getting postponed because both of you are exhausted and neither of you knows how to start. Eventually, one of you stops trying. Not dramatically, just quietly, the way a fire goes out when nobody adds wood. Time alone does not heal this. The right help at the right time does. Now let me paint the other picture. I want you to imagine sitting across from your spouse 2 years from now. A quiet, ordinary moment, maybe at dinner, maybe driving home from church, and there's a look between you that says, "We made it." Not just survived, but actually made it. There's a trust between you that didn't exist before the affair. A depth of honesty that only comes from going through the hardest thing together and choosing to stay. Your kids are watching a marriage that modeled redemption, not just happiness. And your story is something God uses to give hope to other couples. That's not a fantasy. That's what I've watched happen again and again for 15 years. That's what Star and I have. And it started from a place that felt a lot like where you are right now. The same is possible for you. Your marriage and your family is worth fighting for. And the legacy you leave is worth fighting for. Let me show you the framework we use to accomplish this. Over 15 years of walking with couples through affair recovery, I've developed what I call the restoration roadmap. Your path from where you are right now, which feels like ground zero, to marriage 2.0. It's built on 5 pillars, not steps, because healing isn't linear. Pillars, because each one supports everything that comes after it. Pillar number 1 is truth. Recovery can't begin on a foundation of partial truth. Trickle truth, where details come out slowly over weeks, is one of the most destructive patterns in affair recovery because every new revelation restarts the trauma. That typically results in a marathon of pain. Full disclosure, on the other hand, is painful, but it is the only foundation on which real healing can be built. No more secrets means no more walls. And without walls, intimacy finally has a chance. Pillar number 2 is time. Healing can't be rushed. The betrayed spouse needs time to grieve and test whether the change they're seeing is real. The unfaithful spouse needs time to demonstrate consistent, sustained change. Not words, actions over time. Understanding the role of time and how to use it well rather than just endure it or rush it changes everything. Pillar number 3 is talk. Most couples fall into one of 2 categories when it comes to talking about the affair. They avoid it entirely because every conversation becomes a war, or they get trapped in cycles of accusation and defense that go nowhere. there is a third way. We developed a specific framework where the unfaithful spouse learns to ask about, sit in, and comfort the betrayed spouse's pain rather than defending or deflecting. And I teach the betrayed spouse to share their pain in a way that promotes healing and connection. When couples master this, conversations that used to end in a slammed door start ending in genuine connection. And then pillar number 4 is trust. Trust isn't rebuilt with apologies. It's rebuilt with consistent, transparent, accountable behavior over time. We give both spouses a concrete framework for what that actually looks like in daily life. So the unfaithful spouse knows exactly what to do, and the betrayed spouse has a way to measure real change rather than just hoping for it. Finally, pillar 5 is think back. This is the pillar that surprises most couples. Once you're far enough into healing to think clearly, we start to look back at marriage that existed before the affair, not to assign blame, and never to suggest the affair was justified in any way, because it wasn't. But every marriage has patterns that created vulnerability. And if you rebuild without understanding them, you risk repeating them. Remember, your goal is not to restore marriage 1.0. It's to build marriage 2.0. So the 5 pillars are truth, time, talk, trust, and think back. That's the restoration roadmap. 5 pillars, 1 clear path from ground zero to marriage 2.0. So here's what working together looks like. We start with the free 30-minute exploratory call, a real conversation about your situation, not a sales pitch. I'm going to listen, answer your questions honestly, and I'm going to tell you whether I think this is the right fit. If it isn't, I'll tell you, and I'll point you somewhere that is. If we move forward, the program opens with a 2-day intensive here in the Woodlands, Texas. We work through full disclosure together and get a real picture of where you both are and build your personalized path through the restoration roadmap. Most couples leave that weekend with more honesty and clarity than they've had in years. For the first time, they have a real map out. From there, we'll spend 11 weekly sessions working through each pillar of the restoration roadmap at a pace that fits your situation. Every session led by me personally. I'll give you structured tools and homework between sessions and direct access to me when something hits in between sessions. Now I want to talk about the investment. According to national legal data, the average divorce with children costs around $15,000 in attorney fees alone. That number doesn't count what it costs your kids, your health, or the next 20 years of your family's story. The investment in this program is a fraction of that. When you book your exploratory call, I'll walk you through every detail. And if it's not the right fit financially, I'll point you in another direction. What I can tell you is this: the cost of doing nothing is not zero. Every week without the right guidance is a week those patterns get more embedded. The question isn't whether you can afford to get help, it's whether you can afford not to. Looking back, I would have invested just about anything to have what Star and I have today. And the couples who've gone through this program say the exact same thing. If you're ready to take the next step, here's what I want you to do. Right below this video is a calendar to book your free 30-minute exploratory call with me directly. But before you do, I need to be honest with you. This isn't for everyone. If you've already privately decided the marriage is over and are looking for confirmation, I'm probably not the right fit for this season. Or if you're not both open to a faith-based approach, we're likely not the right fit. The gospel is not just a decoration in what we do. It is the foundation. And if the affair is not completely over, this isn't a fit. Real healing can't begin on a foundation that's still shifting. Come back when it is, and I'll be here. But if none of those things describe you, then the next step is clear. Book the call. No pressure, no pitch, just a real conversation with someone who understands what you're going through, because I've lived it. I know watching this took a lot of courage, and taking the next step will be even more. But remember, you're not alone in this, and you don't have to figure it out on your own. Please don't give up. I've been where you are. I know it feels hopeless right now, but I promise you it isn't. God is able to heal your marriage. He's done it before, and I believe He brought you to this video for a reason. Book your call today, and I hope to speak with you and your spouse very soon.